welcome back. I have a listener who specifically requested that I talk a little bit more about parenting. I know that she is a busy young mom of now 4 young kids, and she is very near and dear to my heart. And I wanted to talk a little bit about kind of parenting as a whole. Obviously I'm no expert. I'm just a little further down the road than she is, I guess you could say. I took some time to ponder and pray on, what I could say, what kind of things have helped me, and more specifically, what the Lord would have me say to her and to all of you, my friends and family. I was first thinking about one time not too long ago, kind of out of exasperation. I said a silent prayer, and I was asking my Heavenly Father basically why my young boys were being so clingy. I guess it was just kind of, just feeling a little touched out, feeling a little needing a moment to myself kind of a thing. Anyway, before you judge me, just know that I love being a mom. I love all my children. I've always wanted to be a mother. It's just sometimes I'm imperfect, and I get moments where I'm not myself, and where maybe I need a little more grace than other times. But anyway, like I said, I took it to the Lord, and I said a prayer, and it was kind of more complaining at first, and I was remembering, gosh, my older kids went through this stuff too, where they're just so clingy, and even maybe once they're to an age where I think maybe they should not be so clingy, or maybe in certain circumstances it's like, why are they? I could see if like they knew I was leaving, to go do something or whatever. That's totally understandable. But it's like it wasn't, that isn't what was happening. And so it was frustrating. And I felt the Lord tell me, basically impressed upon me, that I am their safety in every sense of the word. Children are sensitive to things my children are sensitive to things that I am not even aware of, and their precious spirits know that I am here to protect and care for them. And instantly I had this image of me being the protection, the warrior between them and the adversary. Seen and unseen influences, and that their young, tender spirits are so susceptible, and that is what I am here to do, is to teach them and protect them. And I got to thinking, well, yeah, it's no different than if we were out and about somewhere and they felt unsafe, they would come to me for physical safety. And just because I don't understand what's going on doesn't mean that they don't need to be near me, doesn't mean that I'm not still their safety blanket, their shield, whatever the case may be. And that I definitely take that very seriously. I was just thinking about what I've said more than once to my boys at bedtime if they've tried to act like they were scared, or not act like, I don't know, maybe they were, but sometimes kids say funny stuff and you're like, you're not scared, but there's times maybe when they truly are. But I more than once I've said to them, what I say, I'm scarier than anything that you're going to encounter, because that's really how I feel about it. Like, I've seen some pretty scary things in my life, and I just talked about, specifically in the last episode, those kinds of things can happen to young kids too. I'm well aware of that. And so I was just like, but I know me, and I know the mama bear in me, and I don't care, what it is that's going to be trying to scare my kids or come after my kids. I've told the kids I would do whatever I had to do to protect them, whatever that looked like. I would not hesitate. No thinking, just action. So, I was dead serious. I'm like, I might be little, but I am fierce. So definitely I'm scarier than anything that they're going to encounter. So anyway, and I just think that just kind of changed my viewpoint after that anytime that they're being clingy or whatever, I just assume there's a reason why they need to be near me, and I need to not be annoyed about it, and I need to just soak it in and be their protection, be their comfort, be whatever it is that they need me to be. That's my job. And so, yeah, I also felt very honored, that the Lord would entrust me with protection. The protection of some of his choicest spirits is how I feel about my children. So a couple of things that I, besides being patient when your little ones are being clingy and taking it to the Lord, as always, anytime we're feeling any kind of negativity as a mother or as a parent, not just mothers, take it to the Lord for sure. I just had a few thoughts come into my mind that I thought is really helpful, was and is really helpful for me because I still have little ones. The days are long, but the years are short. I've heard different variations of that, and I do like that because it is true, especially when your kids are really little. It does feel like each day just goes on for years, but it's like all of a sudden they're a year old. All of a sudden they're 5 years old. All of a sudden they're 10. It's crazy. It's crazy how the time goes by long, but also short too. And so when you're dealing with little ones, it's helpful to just remind yourself of that. Like it's gonna be long days, but knowing that it's temporary and reminding yourself it's temporary. And I remember one of my sisters saying to me, it's a season. It's just a season in your life, a season in their lives. And it's eventually things are gonna change, and you won't always be dealing with diapers and middle of the night feedings and all the fun stuff. Another thing that I remember felt like a bit of inspiration from the Lord was this basically saying, imagine the kind of person that you want your child to be in 5 years, in 10 years' time. How do you need to be nurturing them, raising them, disciplining them, teaching them? How do you need to be doing that right now so that they can become who you want them to be however many years down the road? Like specifically thinking of that child, that age, okay, if I want them to be honest, well, then I need to instill honesty in them now. If I want them to be responsible, I need to instill responsibility in them right now. If I want them to be respectful of me, I need to make sure that even a toddler is respecting me, those kinds of things. And it really puts it into perspective because you can explain things away, or you can say, well, they're this, or well, they're that, or they're too young to start teaching them this or disciplining them or whatever the case may be. And discipline sounds so negative. It's not. It's more just at age appropriate accountability. And even though we may not discipline them in the way that they need, if we don't, then life is going to discipline them. And there are natural consequences that come. And that's why I love that my children have siblings and so many close in age, because I feel like they teach each other way more than even I can. There are natural consequences that come from being a good roommate or a bad roommate, being a good friend or a bad friend when it comes to siblings. And it really does, it teaches them, like I said, teaches them more than I could. I saw a video that was talking about well, they were putting it in terms of the way a child, specifically in this video, the way a daughter would be thinking toward her mom and saying, give your mom grace because this is her first time being a mom. And so I was thinking of it in terms of not only that, but also in terms of your child or your children as well. This is their first time in whatever situation they're in. This is their first time in this life here on earth. This is and just thinking about like I've raised essentially, I'm on to my 9th 5-year-old. Okay, so maybe I have an idea of what a 5-year-old is like or may need from me, but every single one of my kids has been different at 5, and their needs were different, essentially, and their personality is different, and I was different at each time. Like right now, my 5-year-old is getting the 39-year-old me as a mom, and it feels like everything is a first time. There's some stuff that I'm like, okay, I remember dealing with this, and yet I can't always do things the same like I did with my oldest son, or, it's just, anyway, I am constantly reminded that I need to offer my children grace, and I also need to offer myself grace. And even just having that kind of perspective, I think, is very helpful. It tells me that I can't be rigid, was the word that came into my mind. Life will force you to be flexible, basically. And I do often feel like the Lord wanted me to have so many kids so that I would be forced to let go of the illusion of control. Because you really do have to have a certain amount of flexibility when you have as many kids as we do. And I got to thinking about each one of my kids. For those of you who are not caught up, I am the mother of 8 and stepmother of 1. So that's where the 9 kids comes in. I have 5 from my previous marriage and 1 stepdaughter from my husband's previous marriage, and I have 3 with my husband. And so that's where that all comes from. My oldest is my only son from my previous marriage, and he is 17. And my experiences with him have been eye-opening every step of the way. He's really taught me a lot, and I've, they talk about your first being the guinea pig, so to speak. And I just think he's a pretty forgiving kid, and a very, he's just always been an old soul. And I felt pretty spoiled with him from the get-go. And anyway, it's been an education with him as a teenager, and now approaching adulthood. Just trying to understand and figure out what being a mother to a 17-year-old son looks like, and how do I mother him properly? How do I show him respect but still guide him? I have to defer a lot to my husband on things, and I have to defer a lot to the Spirit on things with him. And there's been a lot of times where I've wanted to handle things a certain way, and the Spirit has restrained me, and I've been almost immediately glad that I was restrained by the Spirit, because I'm not perfect, and you want to handle things a certain way, or maybe you default to a certain I don't know, tactic or whatever you want to call it. But then when it comes down to it, the Lord knows him best and knows how to help you to be the right kind of parent to each of your children. And so I'm still learning, and the Lord tells me when I need to step in and, be a mom, and when to kind of step back and let him figure things out, a bit, but still making sure that he knows I'm still there. It's kind of hard. It's kind of scary to think about and going into adulthood. I had a suspicion that he was maybe wanting to go live with his dad after graduating, and he hadn't said anything to me about it, but I kind of just, like I said, I had my suspicions, and I was very concerned about it. But like a lot of times, I've felt like I needed to just, let him make his decisions and support his need, however that may look, his need to connect with his dad. And after, like I said in a previous episode this season, him and his sisters had a bit of a falling out with their dad. He kind of was showing his true colors a bit and upset the kids. And so my son actually told his stepdad that he no longer wants to live with his dad after graduation. And the relief that I felt from that was immense. And it just really felt like the Lord answered my prayers, because I was very worried about, I don't know what would come of it. And I just didn't think it would be a good thing for him, but I knew I needed to hand it over to the Lord. And so I'm really grateful. I feel like he's on a better trajectory right now, and he has a lot of good male role models in his life. And as he goes back to school, I got to meet one of his teachers, and I just felt really strongly that this gentleman is going to be a good influence on him. And I'm just praying that my son takes full advantage of having a good example and a good influence at school. And I know that a teacher can make all the difference, in a young kid's life. So I'm really hopeful for that. I could go on and on about each of my kids. I mean, I even got to meet my oldest daughter's a teacher that she's going to have, and she seemed just exceptional as well. And I just felt so comforted. Like, this is what my kids need right now. Like, they are in this prime position, and I'm so grateful for this opportunity for them to go to a good school and be in some good programs that they are interested in and excited about. And it's a school where they can get like real career training in an actual field that they are interested in. And I'm so grateful for them or grateful for that. And I'm grateful that they'll be able to take advantage of this, and grateful for these good teachers that are there that actually seem to really care about my kids and the rest of the kids. Obviously they seem like they really want them to have the help and guidance that they need. So I'm praying for them, and I'm praying for my kids. And my second oldest daughter she had gotten really, really burnt out. She's extremely introverted and a very private person. And she needed, she's been needing to cocoon, basically, is what she's been doing. All of my kids have kind of done that to a degree here and there recently, just kind of needing to just hide out a bit. And I felt strongly that I needed to let them do that. It's hard because the world says you got to do this or you got to do that. And I'm just grateful that I live somewhere where I have so much freedom when it comes to my kids' schooling, that those that, want to go into a physical campus can, and there's an option of a school that's safe for them to go to. And that also, those that need to be home more are able to do that. And I just think it's been so, so good for those of my kids that have needed to be home. They seem like they've really been able to recharge. When you think about what happens when a caterpillar cocoons, and sorry, when I think of what I'm seeing from each of my kids, how they're blossoming into these beautiful butterflies, each one so different and so beautiful, wonderful in their own ways. When they aren't being forced to fit some cookie cutter mold, and I'm allowing them to find their way and guiding each of them. It's been amazing to see what they've been showing me, what each of them has been showing me. And I know that there's times when I'm like, maybe I should do this, or maybe I should do that, or maybe, and being prayerful about every little thing has really, really helped me big time. And I know I've not always been as good as I should be about that. But especially right now, as they're going to be returning to the school, to the school year grind and expectation. It's been a real education for me to be able to. Yeah, sometimes you got to be superhuman, and I could not do that without my husband for sure, but definitely without the Lord, I could not be doing. It'd be just absolutely drained. And some days I am anyway. But anyway, I hope all of you are able to return to the school year grind in a way that works for you and your kids. And if you're feeling like you should be changing your kids' situation, whatever the case may be, don't hesitate. Follow those promptings. If your kid needs something from you, if they need a different teacher, if they need a different school, if they need to be homeschooled. I mean, I think some people think that you make these kinds of changes and it's permanent and you can't ever change it again. No, my kids have, tried online and then switched to a different online school, and then, did at campus, but then switched to a different campus, and maybe they had a teacher they didn't like, and I busted whoever's chops I had to get them to, change whatever teacher it was that they needed. I mean, my kids know I absolutely will go to bat for them. I do expect them to do well. I expect them to be responsible and make a good impression and work their butts off, but they know that I will also work my butt off to make sure that they are in the best possible situation that they can, so that they can just do their best and be happy and just succeed in every possible way. Set them up for success, not setting them up for failure. That's always my thought process with every decision that we go into. How can I make this as successful of a situation for them as I can? Each kid, right? Because as you know, when you have children, each one is different. And they don't come with their own manual. So the Lord will help you every step of the way if you're turning to Him. So anywho, all right. Well, thanks for checking out the show, and I hope you got something out of it, and we'll talk again soon. Bye-bye.